I don't have a problem with the vote. But the crowd he was about to draw with the notoriety he had, Brother Shannon is correct. It was overpriced.
Right, and with his notoriety and his popularity, you would think he could have negotiated a different deal. But then again, we don't know. The brother might have
Agreed.
tried to negotiate, and maybe he couldn't get it.
That's right.
We just
That's
don't
right.
know. And let me just say something about Howard Stern. Shannon, you are right about the fact that Tom Joyner didn't have the best business sense, or the best people around him.
Mm-hmm.
But don't underestimate the fact that I'm gonna ruffle some feathers here. Don't forget the fact that Howard Stern was a Jewish man doing radio in a media market that is dominated by that particular group.
This
So
is
of
true.
course, like any group, you're going to like any group that's on code, you should support those that look like you. You should prop them up. Now, I'm not going to say that it's all just because of that, because Tom Joyner Warner had his faults, but you can't underestimate the fact that he's able to come into a market. I'll give you a perfect example. I listen to XM radio every morning. I listen to Joe Madison, who's one
Joe
of the
Madison.
top. He's one of the top radio hosts, I think, top black radio hosts on this planet. And
Mhm.
both him and Howard Stern work for Sirius XM radio, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Madison is top notch. He's been on the Speakers magazine. He's been rated every year top notch. But guess what? You can make an argument that Joe Madison, what he talks about, what his background, everything is what he talks about is more relevant than Howard Stern. But it doesn't matter. Howard Stern gets paid more money. He's the flagship person on XM radio. He gets paid more than Joe Madison. And Joe Madison has talked about this, and he has said, when I renegotiate my contract, damn it, my show is high rated. XM Radio going to have to give up some more money. So here you have a black man who's an incredible radio host worldwide. He's known, and he's sort of a top black talker on that damn platform, but he still doesn't even make as much money as a Howard Stern. So sometimes, brother, and this is the thing. Joe Madison ain't no dumb cookie. He's got good people around him. He knows how the radio game works, but he recognizes that Howard Stern's got a good thing going. He's got good people working around him. But you know what? Keep this in mind. He also has a complexion for protection. So that doesn't hurt him in a business when you just look at who dominates radio, mass media. It doesn't hurt him. It's easier for him to be possibly more accepted in those circles because he has the complexion that gives him the protection. And I'll stop there.
Anybody want to pick it up?
I know that people don't like when you bring up race a lot, but I'm sorry, race does matter in this society that we live in. It does play. It does play a factor.
Joe,
No,
you want
it
to
plays
jump
a
in?
huge factor.
Joe, you want to jump in on any comments or anything like that, or you're good?
Oh, I'm good. I'm reading the comment section over here, man. Nazir
okay.
asked the question. He said, "Was the arrival of Sirius beneficial to radio?" The Sirius
Say it
XM.
one more.
Yeah.
I didn't see it one more time. What?
It says, was the arrival of Sirius
Sirius.
beneficial to
Oh, okay, I got you.
I
Is
think
that,
it was.
I
I mean, are you mean terrestrial radio or just radio altogether?
I'm
Right.
thinking radio altogether because you have more of a people can say more than you can on regular
Yeah.
radio that's regulated. To me, satellite radio isn't necessarily as regulated. They can say what they want.
Right.
Yeah.
And Howard Stern got
Absolutely.
over to Sirius XM radio because Joe Madison's been in the game for over 30 years, damn near 40 years now. But he got on Sirius XM, and Joe Madison said that Sirius XM was made for Howard Stern because he could push the envelope even further than what he could do on terrestrial radio. And
Right.
right now, satellite radio is pretty much taking over. Terrestrial radio is kind of, and then another thing that's also, what's let me bring it back a little bit. You know what's really challenging satellite radio now, other than terrestrial, because it's dead. Believe it or
Okay.
not, and Joe Madison talks about this. Podcast.
Yes.
Podcasts have
Absolutely.
gotten so
Yeah,
popular.
podcast.
Everybody
Yeah.
can create one. That is
Right.
the rival market to Sirius XM radio because of these podcasts. And you're
I
starting to
Yeah.
hear a lot of these guys like Joe Madison complain about these podcasters.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
here, I don't know. I don't know exactly why terrestrial radio is even up in arms about any of this, or whether it be terrestrial radio or even satellite radio. Howard Stern had, to me, I thought Howard Stern had like the original podcast for radio. I mean, they were doing
You're
Howard
right.
Stern shows years ago. Then they
You're
flipped, and
100% right.
they started doing Don Imus shows. They started doing
Mhm.
Rush Limbaugh. I mean, all they did was added a camera to the radio show.
Right.
That's all they did was added. It was a one angle camera. It'd be in one angle. You'd catch the host, and you might catch somebody walking by. But they started this years and years ago. The writing was on the wall for podcasting.
Right.
It's just that nobody was really paying attention to it. And I think personally, yeah, there was a plan for satellite radio to come along because the FCC just got tired of Howard. I mean, you couldn't find him enough because his advertisers were willing to pay the fines
Yep.
because
Right.
so he could say the things that he could say. I mean, Howard
Right.
Stern was very much like a professional athlete, whereas the worse he was, the better off. The more people loved him.
Right.
And
Mhm.
you had situations where they made that movie. I hate the way they made Private Parts look like
Yeah.
that they made that movie seem like the radio stations hated Howard so much. You had traditionalists who wouldn't go to the next level, but see where those traditionalists ended up. Those traditionalists ended up at the top of the radio game because Howard pushed them there.
Yeah.
Howard pushed them there because if they were a talent, if they were a programmer on a station that Howard was on, their station was number one. So yeah, he was a problem, but we're talking about a problem that's bringing in tens of millions of dollars. So you deal with that kind of problem.
Yep.
You acquiesce with that kind of problem because he's a problem, but he's also very profitable. And I
Right.
think that unfortunately we get too much into the show and not the business. That's where Tom was. That's
Mhm.
where a lot of black DJs were really talented. What's the brother? Frankie Crocker and people
Oh
like
man.
that. I'm talking about legendary broadcasters, had way more chops than Howard Stern had. Howard Stern found a niche of being an asshole, of being a crass, uncouth asshole on air, and he cultivated that. So they called him a shock jock because he would say things that nobody else would say. And that's not, it wasn't that he was saying things that nobody else would say. Other people would say them, but they would get dinged for them. They would get fired for them. And Howard Stern had people
Well,
supporting him.
right, but
Yeah.
let's go back in history, Shannon. They did a movie about it. See, Howard Stern is not doing anything that you haven't had black radio hosts do already. We can go back to
P.D.
the brother in
P.D.
Washington
Green.
D.C. P.D.
P.D.
Green.
Green.
P.D.
Yes,
Green
sir.
had a controversial show in Washington D.C. and he did the same
Mm.
type of stuff where he said things that were shocking. The problem,
Mhm.
I'm gonna say it again, is that unfortunately you can be born at a time in life where you are ahead of your generation. If you took a P.D.
Mhm.
Green and you dropped him into our generation, he could
Mhm.
blow. He would be a megastar. You
Absolutely.
would say Howard Stern who, but unfortunately, not. He was born at a time when people really weren't ready to deal with a black man rocking the mic that way, and that's why I'm saying Howard Stern. Yes, he's a shock jock, but we got to be honest. America can handle it a lot easier coming from a white guy packaged in the way that he was packaged, because there's been plenty of black shock jocks who, let's just keep it real. America, I mean, even what's my man Rudy Ray? You can
Rudy
make an
Ray
argument
Moore.
he was a shock jock, right? Yeah. And he never got the love as a comedian that other black comedians got. He never got the love, and he died never getting his just due. But look at this, look at the material, look at what he was doing. He was doing shit before Howard Stern.
Yes,
And he was doing it in a way that we understand as a black community. So Howard Stern is, to me, is like Elvis Presley. He's been watching what black people were doing, and he's repackaged it for himself, and he got successful off of it. And I ain't gonna hate on him, but that's what he did. Same thing with the Rockin' King, Elvis Presley. He was watching, listening to black blues music, taking notes, and he packaged it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come down, fellas. I gotta get up in
That's
the
a
morning.
good point.
Information, man. Good seeing you, bro. For real, brother.
All right, brother.
You know what it is. Good seeing you too,
Brother Tony.
Finally, we got one
See you
together.
tomorrow.
Absolutely. Yeah, I gotta get up in 4 hours. Y'all killing me.
All right,
All right,
get
get you
All right,
sleep,
Tom,
man.
get you some
Not
sleep.
even your
Get you
fault,
some sleep,
man,
brother.
because you on that other time zone. I'll get on Brother Shannon later when I'm awake. I'm gonna jump in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Ted. As always, man, I appreciate you, dog. You know we can do this.
Man,
whenever,
always.
whenever. Definitely good tomorrow night. I don't think nothing's going on tomorrow night. We can jump on this
Nah.
tomorrow.
We're gonna be good, and we're gonna have fun with it.
Absolutely. Everybody take care. All y'all in the chat, 485 Sets of Eyes, Nazim, Walt, Basics, Frida, Star Child, all of y'all, man. Everybody take it life for real, all right?
Be good,
All
Tom.
righty.
Man, take care, Tony, man.
All right, take care, brothers. Take care, brother.
Yeah, I look at what you say in a lot of the same ways. One of the things, like I said, we've been such a part of the show. They kept us away from the business, and I'm gonna go down a road. When I say I'm not saying individuals. Systemically, we were kept away from the business. We were always told to perform. That's where our skin in the game was. And the very few people that have gotten out here and have become captains of industry, and if we're talking about entertainment, I mean, there should have been way more people that came after Berry Gordy when he did what he did with Motown Records. But they kept most of the eyes on the performances. You had one
Right.
guy who came up with an idea, and Barry had white acts. See, that's the thing. They want to make Motown Records seem like that it was just black acts. Barry had white acts on Motown. He had rock and roll acts on. But people were coming to record their music in Detroit, trying to get the Motown sound. But they wanted to make it seem as if it was not as big as it was. Motown Records was a monster. It was a monster. Everybody wanted to hear Motown. They wanted to see Motown artists, but systemically, they didn't want Barry to shine the way he shined. Barry was so smart. He got white marketers. He was like, instead of us getting stopped at the door saying I'm so and so from Motown Records, I'm gonna send a white guy through the door with our records in the hand. I'm gonna send the guy through the door that I know they're not gonna stop. And once he gets in there, he's already in there, and he starts talking about our music and what they call it back then, race music. When he had to sell race music, it was different. Barry had artists, 4 or 5 person group, but he'd have to put a cartoon on the album cover to get it in the record store. But it didn't turn nobody against the music. So he went through all that same stuff. He just persevered. A lot of people gave up. A lot of people gave up well before, but we should have had a ton of Berry Gordy's after that. Versus what we got was just a ton more performers. He taught people how to perform, and people that patterned themselves after Motown acts. That's why they were as good as they were. Now you don't have anybody patterning themselves after anybody. You don't have anybody there's no diligence in this game. That's why you got foolishness talking about, is Drake more popular or as popular as Michael Jackson at his peak? I'm not sure exactly what crack what crackhead came up with this situation, you
Uh,
know, but to say that Drake is even in the same sentence as Michael Jackson is lunacy. It's
Well,
flat out
personally,
lunacy.
I
yeah,
personally don't. I feel like Drake has some talent, but it's limited, in my opinion. When you compare him to someone like Michael Jackson, he doesn't have half of the talent that Michael Jackson has in his pinky toe, in my
absolutely.
opinion.
Right.
And
Correct.
one of the things, now we do know, now this is the difference. Drake did not grow up on the hard side of the road. Drake comes from
Nope.
a middle class family in Canada,
Nope.
mother Jewish, father
Oh
was
man.
black.
Yeah,
Man, the young man had a pool in his backyard when he was 3, 4 years old. He
And we
also was
saw him on
he was
TV.
also a child star in Canada.
We
So
yep.
saw him on
he's
TV.
Mm,
Yeah.
right. So we're not
mm,
dealing with a guy. This is what bothers me. Most of us on here are old enough to remember this. Used to be a time in rap music when you came into rap music and you start using the whole N word and all the tough guy talk. You had to show your paperwork. You had to prove that you were that. And what Drake, when you look at him, he's got the looks. He's got the acting background, a little bit of singing background. So he's well packaged and well marketed. And he can flow. I'm not going to take his flow away from him. But the Drake that you see today, he would have been heavily criticized back in the day, especially when he starts talking
Yeah.
all this stuff about I came from the bottom to the top. And I actually have seen Drake talk outside of rap lingo.
mhm,
I've seen him on a couple of programs talking, and I'm
mhm.
gonna tell you what. When he talks on regular programs, he sounds like a prep school kid. You can tell
Absolutely.
he went to prep. He went to good
Yeah.
schools, knows how to speak good English, and so
Yeah.
that
Mhm,
tells me right there that when you see these guys like a Drake rapping and using all the slang, it's all an act. It's all a performance. Because
It's
when
a
he was
character.
talking, there was nothing slang in his voice. You could
No.
tell that he don't come from the streets. There's
Yeah.
nothing street about Drake. Yet he has a lot of people who would claim they're from the streets that are kind of endorsing him. Back in the
mhm.
day, a guy like Drake would have got eaten up for being a prep school kid.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah. For being
And
articulate. Yeah.
what Drake
And I'm not saying
is,
nothing wrong with a black man being able to talk. I'm just
Yeah.
saying we live in a different time and how the rap music people are accepted no matter where they come from now.
But I
Right.
but
think the key thing is Information Man is he was playing a character.
Right.
mm,
And I do have a
mm,
problem with that because it makes it not
mm,
authentic.
Right.
mm. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Does it make it? Does it make it not authentic, or has Drake just done what we've allowed him to do? Drake came out as a thespian. He is an actor. He is
Right.
a character.
Right.
He is a character driven person. Hasn't he just taken his character from Degrassi High into the hip hop world
Right.
and
Because
basically said,
right.
He's never stopped acting, y'all. He's never
Right.
stopped acting. That's the
But that's
thing.
because nobody within the hip hop world has put any checks and balances. I mean, because he was introduced by people like Lil Wayne who gave him credibility,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
went with it. But my thing is, back in the day, I knew if you had a guy like this, that's why what was the guy that came out of Los Angeles, the rapping what was his name? He graduated from USC. He had this name called the Educated Rapper or something of that nature. He had like a
Move,
popish,
the dude who did Bust the Move.
yeah, Bust a Move. He
Yeah.
had
Young
sort of a
MC,
pop,
Young
yeah,
MC.
Young MC.
Yeah.
Young MC had sort of a popish type of rap style. But guess what? His career didn't last that long because eventually, as gangster rap music took over, people were saying he
Yeah.
ain't street enough. He ain't
Right.
he ain't real. He just a little prep school kid here. If you imagine Drake, if he would have come out then, there's no way he would have survived. They would have ate
No.
him up.
That's right.
Because then it was all about, are you really authentic? Nowadays, you don't gotta be authentic. We got
No.
Lil Nas X running around, busting it wide open, saying, "Shit, I'm gay, y'all. Now let me do everything I want to do in the videos. I'm gonna be with football players. I'm gonna do it in the shower." And all this is being projected for our kids to see. And these videos are coming on at not late at night. These videos are coming on at 1, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, any time of the day. And the society has just accepted it because, well, we got to let him be who he wants to be.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I agree. I agree with you. And as far as the credibility stance, but see that's another issue because I'm gonna do some googling. I'm gonna do some googling. Um, I want to find out today where Young MC is because if I'm thinking what I'm thinking and I'm thinking in my mind, Young MC, if he were to die today, I bet you his family would have enough money for his funeral.
Yep.
Right.
Be,
No, I think
because
the last time I seen him, I think he's gone into business. I think he's gone behind the scenes in the music business. So he's one of those
absolutely,
guys that's making good money on the business side
absolutely.
of music and other things. But
No, I said that to say this.
mhm,
He had a career 30 years ago and he
yes,
could pay for his funeral today, whereas AJ Johnson just died and they're having to go fund me his funeral.
that's a damn
See,
Yeah.
shame.
we
That
get
is
into a
sad.
position,
That's a
we get
damn
into a
shame, brother.
position of the show and not the business. There's absolutely no reason why his family wouldn't have enough money to pay for a funeral after the work that brother has put in on the stage and
Mm-hmm.
on the screen for the last 30 years. It makes absolutely no sense. This man was 55 years old
Hmm.
and he was performing. Now I haven't seen him do a lot in the last couple of years, and I live in the past so much. So most of the stuff that I see AJ Johnson on, it's going to be like an older movie or an older show. But I know that he did enough in his career. If you break it down by the pennies,
Right.
he should have enough. They should have had enough to be able to have $10,000, $15,000 to be able to bury this
Yeah.
man.
Part of
You
the
know,
problem, brother Shannon, is that one of the reasons why his career kind of went downhill after he did Fridays and all those different type of projects is that he had, I believe, a substance abuse problem. I think with alcohol, liquor. I think that's what took him out of the game was the drug use and then some of the personal problems in his life. And to be honest, you know how it works. Once our people get on them drugs, they smoke or drink away their wealth.
Yes.
And then,
well, I,
once we make it, Shannon,
Yeah.
we have family members that are like, I need this, I need that, I
Yeah.
need 2, 3 shoes, I need my teeth pulled out. I can't pay my rent this month.
right.
That's
So
interesting.
true.
You notice in the black community, whenever we make it big with money, I don't know if any other group has this problems. I only know what black people go through. That's when everybody in our family who's needy, they always have been needy, they're
Mhm.
knocking at our door.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It
Yeah,
happens,
yeah,
man. It sucks,
yeah.
but it happens. Yeah.
It
I've had to
does.
do it myself. I have had to do it myself.
Yeah. Okay. So my input on that is because we are still in the first couple of generations for an individual or even as a collective in a family for us being above sea level. You got to think just 40 years ago, 50 years ago, most of us really didn't have a way. You know, I mean, what did they say? We really just gained our independence 51 years ago, and truly gaining our independence, even though we were supposed to have gained our independence in 1865, we truly just gained our independence at the end of the 60s, right at the end of the 60s. I mean, we're still talking fair housing, equal opportunity, this, that, and the other. And that's all attributed to us. I mean, we had to be the first people to go under fair housing. We had to be the first people that were given a privilege to vote. We had to be the first people that we had to go in and get equal opportunity for employment. Nobody else has had to encounter that, and that happens on all realms. That happens on all realms. And when you say that about like uh, family members coming at you, you generally get that one family member. You might get two, but chances are in a family that's going to make it, there's one family member. That's the golden goose. That's the golden goose that lays the eggs, right?
Mhm.
You have more family members draining that golden goose of the resources versus trying to elevate him and say, hey, what can I do to help further this movement? And I'm not talking about an athlete, because an athlete, only one person can go out there and do their thing on the field or the court or whatever.
Right.
But what you can do, you can make sure that athlete is insulated and they stay on the right path and they don't get into the drugs and they don't get into the alcohol and they don't go through the temptations. That's what you can do as a family member. Don't just ride along for the ride and be there for the events and shit like that, then causing trouble for the athlete where he got to bail you out, or his people got to bail you out because you in trouble because y'all in some town and you done did some shit, and it's all going to fall back on the athlete. So I'm not talking about athletes. I'm talking about people that can actually move the needle for their family, you know. And the problem is that we see the money versus seeing the opportunity, you know. And what we've got to learn is we've got to insulate the people that are doing those things in our families and uplift them, make sure they get out of the get totally out of the way. But what we don't, that we have all those people, they're right in the middle of the game. They stay right in the middle of the game and we drain them of their resources. And I don't think that I don't have anybody in my family that is one of those high ranking, when I say high level performers. Like I've never had a professional athlete or even a professional entertainer in my family. So I don't have anybody that's went on and made tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. Very few of
Mhm.
us do. But some of those families that have had those individuals, like I know families like in Detroit that there were some families that had those guys are all fucking broke now. They're all broke because
Mhm.
they didn't do the
Wow.
right thing. They didn't do the right things with their money. And when they were up, their family was there. They was wearing the mink coats and the furs and
Right.
all that shit. And you know,
Yeah.
but when the guy retired, because you only get so many years to play these sports and everything, what did y'all do with the money? Did you buy up the block? You
Right.
know, I don't want to hear about you buying up the block once you retired. If you didn't buy up the block when you had the resources, then
Right.
you know you're not going to do it now. If you didn't build politically, you know, while you were playing, while your brand was at the strongest, dude, you're not. Nobody cares once you take the uniform off.
Right.
Once the jersey is up in the rafters, nobody cares. They only care
Yeah.
about you when you're playing. Your brand is strongest when you're in the game, and most families don't know how to help you bring that brand up. Who should be selling the most merchandise if I make it into the league? Who should be selling the most merchandise? Spalding or Wilson or Nike or Adidas or my family, nigga? My family should be selling my merchandise. That's my intellectual property.
Yeah.
I'm the brand first. So before I let somebody else take that brand and make a whole bunch of money off of it, my family should be promoting that and be making building my brand. That's why people don't like Rich Paul. People hate Rich Paul because Rich Paul is the anti-agent.
Yes.
He's the
Yeah. Rich
anti-agent. He
Paul.
is,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, and he's doing it for people now that he's getting money for people now that wouldn't have got money if they had an agent that was basically they were just a part of the IMG or whatever these big agencies are. He is a
CAA.
person. Yeah, he is a personalized agent, and they
Yep.
hate Rich Paul. They trying to find dirt on Rich Paul so they can get him out the game.
Wow.
They
Yeah.
were trying to, they tried to put some little obstacles in there that you had to have this degree or you had to
Right.
have these credentials and
Right.
all that shit. And,
Yeah.
because they don't want somebody like Rich Paul. And then Rich Paul is about to expose this whole agent game. I thought Jay-Z was on his way to do it, but he had other things in play. But I thought he was about to do it with the whole Rock Nation Sports, just
Mhm.
totally expose the game because you don't need all that fucking money. You don't need to take all that money from these athletes and entertainers to
Yeah.
represent them. You taking it because they don't know no better. That's the
Yeah.
only reason you take their money because they don't know no better. Let some of their family members who got law degrees and accounting degrees, let them get in play. If I'm an athlete or entertainer, I say, you know what? I want somebody in the room at all the negotiation
Right.
sessions. I want one of my people in the room. You got that weight. You got that weight as the brand. If they want you, I want my uncle, my mama, my daddy, somebody in that room that is going to have my interest at heart from day one.
A
Don't put
cautionary
your
tale.
go ahead.
A cautionary tale would be MC Hammer. Every black
Oh,
Mm,
person, and I've seen
damn,
MC
mm,
Hammer because
damn.
MC Hammer's in California, of course, and he
Yep.
actually doesn't live that far from me. But every black man, woman should learn from MC Hammer. He's tried to tell people to learn from him. He is a cautionary tale as to what can happen to you in the business when you have this high success and then
Mhm.
you go downhill because you think you're worth more money than what you really are when you're
Yeah.
not got the proper people around you. I hear what you're saying, Shannon, about having your family having your back. But one of the foolish things that MC Hammer did, and he admitted it, is that he tried to take everybody from the hood in Oakland with him.
Yep.
You can't
Yep.
save everybody.
Yeah.
He had uncles. For example, if I got a barber that's cutting my hair and he's my good friend,
Mhm.
then I should employ him as my traveling barber. I should not make the Negro my accountant. Those are the mistakes that he was making. He was taking
Yeah.
family members, putting them in positions to do things that they were never trained in. If your uncle is the good barbecue cook, make the Negro cook the food. Put people in positions to execute the talent that they have. And I think
Right.
that was another mistake that he made. He had so many people on the payroll. Then when he tried to build that house Skyline, up there in the Skyline Hills, from Oakland all the way in the Skyline area, he went too far with it. It just, and then when he lost all of his money and he wasn't as popular because, like I said, all the gangster rappers were saying this dude is phony. He's prep school. He ain't no real hardcore, because he came out with that hardcore album and they were like,
Yeah.
we ain't believing it, right? And what happened? He lost all his money, and everybody that was rocking with him, they left him. They deserted him because they were
Yeah.
only there for the money. He's a cautionary tale of how you can really be get caught up. He said he got full of
well,
himself. You can get caught up with yourself.
Yep.
you're absolutely right there. You're absolutely right there. And he was the blueprint as to what not to do.
Mhm.
Because when you look at what happened is he was the performer. Think about it. Now let's just think about it. He was the performer. Who was out front? MC Hammer was in the front. He don't know what's going on behind him. All the
Mhm.
lights, all the camera, the microphone, he's in the front. Everything that's really happening is going on behind the curtain. Everything that's really going on is happening behind that curtain. And even the dancers, even those people, they were leaning on him.
Yeah.
Okay, MC Hammer, if the dancers all fell down on that stage and said, we ain't gonna dance no more, MC Hammer could have still put on a show and people would have still came to pay money for him. Granted that Oaktown 357, all the other dancers, the one dancer that looked just like MC Hammer and emulated all his moves, everybody loved all them. But MC Hammer could get up on that stage and dance by himself. He could have did everything he did. Think about it. This is what I want you to think about. MC Hammer could have got up on that stage by himself with the DJ, with the hype man or whatever, and performed, and all the money that he paid out in salaries for the dancers, the band
Mhm.
members, and this, that, and the other. If he'd have saved all that money and put that money towards helping those individuals that he helped out twice. He helped them out by giving them a job, but then he helped them out when, their bills got behind on this. And then when this happened, my mama's sick, or, somebody needs a new car. MC Hammer was giving them money for that type of shit. And he shouldn't have been in play like that. We talking about I was just about to get to it, top level performer. When you got the top level performer, you
Mhm.
insulate that person. You don't tax that person. You don't drain that person, because you need that person to get out on that stage and perform at a top level. But when you
Right.
waste their time with, I need $20, I need $100, I need 3 grand, I need 5 grand. By the time it's showtime, that performer is worn out. So what does that performer result? What does that performer basically go to? They go to alcohol. They go to drugs. They go to popping pills because they gotta escape everything because they still gotta be a top level performer. They still you think about this. Whenever you see in these movies, when these guys start doing drugs and they start, drinking alcohol real heavy, it's come because of the pressure of performing.
Yes.
It ain't never it
Yeah,
ain't never came
absolutely.
at the it ain't never came at the pressure of them having the money and taking care of their family and being solvent. It's the pressure of performing because you are what? An actor. You're
Yep.
an entertainer. And everybody needs you on 10 all the goddamn time.
Yeah,
But you
You
don't want to be on 10 all the time. You want to
yeah.
be a regular person. You want to be a regular person. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I thought I cut somebody off.
Oh no 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 no
Um,
no! I'm just piggybacking off of what you were saying, brother Shannon. Number one,
yeah.
you're the talent. You're the talent. So that's whether you are the athlete or you are the actor or you are that person. I don't want to say you're that person that's shucking and jiving, but
No,
you
not
are.
shucking and jiving. No, there's nothing wrong with being a performer. Yeah, being a performance based individual, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But you got to look to tomorrow because you are only going to be able to perform for so long. How are you going to be able to take care of yourself once you cannot perform? You got to handle business. Did
Right.
you do enough? Did you play your cards right when you were performing to where you can translate that into a business move? Because once you're off the stage, so to speak, and I know we're using performance and athletics as a thing, but I want to
Mhm.
delve into being an attorney and being a doctor and things like that because
Right.
those are high performing individuals too. So we'll talk about that. But when you are done doing that, are you prepared to go on to that second part of your life? To
Well,
be a business person.
well,
That's true.
I just to step back for a second, and I would say that person or that entity receives that first contract.
Hmm.
That first contract is not going to be friendly for that athlete or entertainer.
Hmm.
It's more leaning more towards management based with certain escalators that person has to hit
Hmm.
to achieve whatever um, dollar amounts that they're looking to receive. So that
Hmm.
person is also so that person is dealing with that certain level of stress. Uh,
Hmm.
so it's not a fully guaranteed deal. Number two,
Hmm.
just as both of you gentlemen and Mr. B had also said, that person is now stressed out because the
Yes.
family is in the
Yeah.
pocket. The family is calling Day Day and Ramel and
Hmm.
whomever else is calling that person,
Hmm.
and that person they feel like they're against the wall.
Hmm.
So they don't push out that consistent hit, or unfortunately, they become that one hit wonder, or they have that one or two stretch of good seasons, and then they fall off. Well,
Hmm.
that it's the second contract where you usually receive those the real dollar amount that you're looking for. I'm not sure if it's
Hmm.
going to put you over because if you mismanage it anyway, you're dead in the water.
Hmm.
And then lastly, your management team to help you think about okay, I'm an athlete or I'm an entertainer and I'm 27 years old, but what about when I hit 55?
Hmm.
What are we
Hmm.
putting away? You kind of think about Allen Iverson and whomever his accountant is, or
Hmm.
his I don't know if it was his accountant or it was his agent that
Right.
stashed $30 million away until he's 55 years old.
Hmm.
Because someone, I mean, and not to rip on Allen Iverson, but you saw he was wearing everything that he had made.
Allen came here and played at the end of his career. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want him to be a Detroit Piston because I knew it was going to happen.
Right,
And Allen came here and played, and he lived in the casinos while he was here.
right.
He is he he might have got it cleared now, but he was actually banned. He was actually banned for life out of a casino in Detroit
Right,
because he was still living in his 20s when he was in his late 30s,
right,
coming here. And I'm like, damn, he's still living like that? Like he's still trying to
Right,
hang all night and then go play, play the next day and
right.
all that. But it was
And
because nobody had ever slowed him down. But
no,
he had the right individual in his corner who
yes,
knew how to
at
take that.
least
He
one
took that
person,
damn money and put that money to the side because Allen would have been broke. If he
right.
had
Yeah,
access to it, he would have been broke,
yeah,
you know.
So he had one person that was able to look at it and say, okay, we're going to compound this $15 million, and in 30 years, it's going to become $25 million or $30 million, and
Hmm.
you will be able, because I mean, how many times do we see these players? How many times do we see, like, it hurts me that when I see like a Doc Gooden in the New York Post,
Yeah.
and living in an apartment in Newark.
Daryl Strawberry, people
Same
like that.
same thing. Like you see this and you just like, well, man, what happened?
Yeah.
to
You
Yeah.
Walker.
think about that lack of having that team around you, more than
Hmm.
just
Yeah,
the handlers to go buy the coke or the dope, but someone that's going to be able to push that brother in a direction, and even though that person is being paid by them, they're giving them the best amount of advice that they can possibly give them.
right,
Hmm.
right,
Yeah.
right.
right. I think that you have to. I think a lot of times with athletes and entertainers and just people in general, we live for the day, but we don't live for tomorrow,
We
and we
don't.
don't think about how we
Yeah,
want to set ourselves up for the future. And I
right.
think people need to think that way. And that's part of the problem. We live in a society that that tells us, hey, just live for the day, have fun, have a good time, don't
Right.
worry about the future. And then when the future comes, now you're outside asking everybody to help you. Man, I
Yes.
need help.
Right.
That's why let me say this. Sometimes I don't like going back to my old neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
because there's people that I know that got people that I knew from high school that were sort of drug heads and they got strung out, and they see you, they recognize you, and they're asking you for a few dollars. I mean, it's just like I experienced just like what was that movie, Jungle Fever, that Spike Lee did in New York, where
Yes.
you had
Mm,
Samuel Jackson playing the crackhead. Well, I've been around people like that. They see you and they demand money from you. They say, "Man, I know you got it. Come on now. If you don't give it to me, I'm gonna go out here and get high. Then, I'm
Right.
gonna go out here and rob somebody." Right? I have
mm,
actually experienced people that I knew growing up talking to me like that. And so sometimes when I go to the old neighborhood, I'm very depressed because I find out this person got shot. This person, because there's a lot of people that I grew up with who are still living the same lifestyle and haven't
yeah,
changed for the future. And it's kind of sad to go back and hear horror stories. It's almost it's enough to make you say, I don't want to go back because I don't want to hear the horror stories.
Right.
yeah,
And,
man.
and and that's, I mean, and that is quintessential black life. Well, I won't say black life. I would say that is quintessential freedman life. We are the only people that carry those type of scars. See, we carry those type of scars, and once again, we are our own worst enemy when it comes to these situations because we are natural nurturers. We take care of each other. So when a person does make it, the first thing that we want to do is pull our family up,
Mm-hmm.
pull our friends up, pull our people up. That's the first thing that we want to do. I'm talking about this is spiritual for us
Mm-hmm.
because this is how we had to survive on this soil for so long. We had only us to rely on. So what happens when we try to make it out, then we want to pull everybody out where we don't even realize because we're so into trying to get everybody out that all the energy that it's taking for us to try to do that, it's taking that same energy that you need to stay on top, to be able to pull people out. See, um, I look at a lot of things. Drop my earpiece dropped out. I look at a lot of things differently because I see. I'm not trying to put myself in this realm of I see the future type of thing, but I've never wanted somebody to give me like a signing bonus, something, because I feel like, like I've signed on to jobs before and they were like, oh, you get this type of bonus or you get this type of thing. But I already know that if you got to coax me to come in and do something, then there's something on the back end that I'm gonna either have to bend over for, not physically, but you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to owe you something. So when you start seeing like these big contracts with sports and entertainment where they get a signing bonus, they get fronted all this money. Okay, that's what we see. What we don't see is all the expenses that they deduct over the next several years of paying you, and you still thinking you making that same type of money and you really not.
Nope.
You know,
Yeah.
like you end up basically borrowing against the house, as they say. You end up front loading your expenses, and then you paying it off in your talent. Now they don't give you the signing bonus. That's what you're really supposed to go put away and live modestly off of. But what they
Yeah.
do, what people do is they go buy cars, they go buy houses, they go do everything that's depreciating. A house isn't really depreciating until you do shit like what MC Hammer did with a house. MC Hammer didn't need water. He didn't need water flowing through his floor. He didn't need marble everything, solid gold everything to
Right.
show that he was a boss, but he did that shit because he had the access to the money. He had the access to the money. But see, what happened was because he was the head of the food chain,
Yeah.
nobody could tell MC Hammer what to do. See, MC Hammer have it all over to do again. He would have somebody write on his right doing the checkbook. MC Hammer was the checkbook.
Mm-hmm.
MC Hammer was the checkbook. If he had it to do all over again, he'd have financial managers. That's who he would meet with every morning. He would meet with his financial managers. He would meet with his
Right.
accountant. He would meet with his lawyer. He
Then
would
this
meet with.
becomes the question. The
Go ahead.
question is, do black people, do we have good financial literacy? Is that something that we are lacking in our community that we need to come to Jesus about and start working on? Do we
Yeah.
have
As
it?
a collective, no, and
No.
we don't need to come to Jesus because that's where we've been, and that ain't helping us. So we don't
Right.
need to come
Well,
to
I'm
Jesus.
I'm just
So I
saying
know
that
what you
as a
mean. I know what you mean,
matter
brother. It
of
was just a play on words. Just a
yeah,
play
just a
on
play
words.
on
But
words. I don't
but
but
when I'm talking about church,
okay.
no, we
Hmm.
do, we do not have financial literacy as a collective. Individually,
Okay.
yes, we do
Yeah.
have it individually. There's many people that know what to do. If you put a pile of money in front of them, the first thing that they're going to do is think about how they can bubble that money.
Yep.
But for the
Okay.
quintessential Black American, when they see a pile of money, they thinking about when the stores open up. They thinking about when the
Okay.
dealership open up. They thinking about where they're gonna go on vacation.
Well, let me
Yep.
ask a
That's
let me ask a controversial question here, or let me bring a. When I was growing up, I knew people who were. We had a little bit of everything in my neighborhood. I knew people that were pimps, people that were drug dealers, because I went to school with them. People I grew up with,
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that I've always noticed when it comes to guys who sell drugs on the street, they f- they freaking know how to add that money up in their head without a calculator. So when I
Yeah.
was asked the word, do are we financially literate? Most of these young cats out here that are drug dealers or are rocking drugs on the street, they have an understanding of how to move that weight to make that money. Now, do they save their money? That's one thing. But if you deal with these young kids, you'll be surprised how many of them understand business. The problem is they're selling the wrong product. They're selling a bad product that's, killing us, obviously drugs, right?
Right.
And if you take that same mind for business and calculating money in their head or numbers, like people who used to run numbers back in the day, and you
Right.
put it in a legitimate type business, they done studies on this, brother Shannon. They would actually rival Fortune 500 companies. They did a study a few years back where they looked at how drug dealers are able to bring in their how they do their marketing, right, to get people hooked on drugs, how they calculate their money, all the things that they do to do this illegal activity. If they did that and it was a legal activity, they could rival Fortune 500 companies. Because I
Right.
remember Philip Mitchell in Oakland, who was a big time drug dealer. He sold a bad product. The man was a calculating genius. Family made a lot of money. Now, of course, unfortunately, when you're a drug dealer, you spend a lot of money. You got to hide your money here and there. But I think we do have the ability. We just don't always have the knowledge. But we do have examples of people who have incredible business sense, just the wrong damn product.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Just a
Pl- and,
thought.
and
That's all.
please, no, the thought is valid. I'm just very reluctant to keep jumping in here because I get to running my big ass mouth, and there's other people on the panel. Brother
Jump
Chad
in,
said
Shannon. I want to hear what you're saying before
Yeah.
I get off, brother. It's getting late for me too, but I
so.
want to hear.
Yeah.
So yes, the above, I would have to say the above average drug dealer, and when I say the above, not the average drug dealer, not the person that's just pushing anything that comes across their way. You got to be calculated, and I'm not an advocate for someone
Yes.
pushing narcotics on people, but the play is out there. So if you are a drug dealer, and let's say your product of is a powdery substance. Let's just say that is your product. That's what you move. Now, if that's what you use to move your needle, the thing that I always look at is what did you do once you made that money? Not your re-up money, but the money that you have to set aside to do something else possibly if you make the right moves. Did you invest in some real estate? Did you invest in a couple businesses? Did you put money, just flat out put money away, just sock it away for when you ready to walk away from the game? And that's what most people don't look at. They don't look. We've been talking about the same goddamn thing. We've just been putting different pieces in. They
Right.
don't think about tomorrow. That's been our biggest problem as a people. We've been taught to think about the today. We've been taught to think about the here and now. We have never been really taught as people to think about tomorrow.
Right.
And yeah, I know my grandkids, they're going to go through the K through 12 program, but I'm already thinking about where they need to be after the K through 12 program, because the K through 12 program is not going to elevate them. It will maintain them.
Right.
It will maintain them, but I don't need the K through 12 program programming them for life, because I already know they're going to program them for minimalism. The K through 12 program is not set for us, not built for us to really bubble off of. That's just to maintain us. We got to do things at home as parents and grandparents to make sure that our kids are taught the right way.
Yeah.
And the K through 12 program does not do that. It is a maintenance program. Even higher education is not a is not built for us, to thrive on. It is a maintenance program, to show that we have the discipline, and then we may once we complete these programs, we may be able to get a job where we can take care of our family. But a lot of times we're not getting jobs going through secondary, higher education, even postgraduate degrees. You got people out here at homeless shelters. I'm sorry.
Does
Right.
it matter, brother Shannon? K through 12, public versus private?
In some cases, it does. But you can have the same detrimental things happen to a child in a private school that are happening to kids in public schools. You get out of it what you put into it a lot of times. But with public schools, well, hell, we experience it right here in this county. I mean, my kid, my teenager has stood outside and had to be picked up by a parent 3 times already. We just at the end of September here because the bus system isn't up to snuff.
Mm.
The bus system ain't got we ain't got the buses, we ain't got the bus drivers. So they purging routes and shit like that. So they've
Yeah.
literally been taken to school by a parent. So that right there, that's already throwing your kid. See, people don't look at the grand scheme of things. Your kid goes outside, stands, waits for the bus. The bus don't come. Now they got to jump in a car with somebody. Now, one, you late to class. You're late to class, and now you got to answer those questions. Why you
Mm-hmm.
late to class? Why you this? You're already thrown back. So you got to understand the program. And we're not in a bad area. We're not in an area that will be considered a underserved area. We are in an area where you have your two parented homes, you have your worker people,
Mm-hmm.
you got your worker bees, and you got some professional people. So it don't matter. We're all in the same frame, but even in an area like this, kids ain't even getting to school on time because of other situations that have led up to this. Private school, most private schools don't have busing. You taken to school by your parents. Most private schools don't have a bus system, so you taken to school by your parents. And when you get to school, you're taught to be, you're paying to go to that school. So now, if you
Right.
don't do the right things, they can kick you out, even
Mm-hmm.
though you actually paying to go to the school. I should be able to do whatever I want to if I'm paying to be here. This is my school. This ain't your school. This is my school. But they treat you the same way in a private school. You have less flexibility in a private school than you got in a public school, and you paying to be there. So when you hear about certain kids not getting the things that they need in a private school, we can get that. We can absolutely get that. Private school is only good for us if we get out of it what we put into it. And
That's
it's
right.
Right.
not, you just
Yeah.
can't pay a lot of money to go to a school. Like
No, no,
charter
no, no,
schools are
no. I'm with you on that. I just
uh,
I've just experienced something different. I don't know if it's because it's New York private schools but busing is there.
okay.
Um, and like I said, this might be an anomaly. I don't know because I can only
Well,
speak about Long Island, but
sure.
busing is there. The class size is small. Um,
Hmm.
all of that BS that we went through the last 18 months of
Hmm.
your kid going into school. My son was in school.
Hmm.
It was just like period. They're in school. The bus is there. They're communicating with you. The administrators are communicating with you, letting you know if there's an issue or if there's this this teacher or this student or these pocket of students turned up hot, or tested positive. So I've just had a different perspective on, at least in New York, it's like night and day, and
Hmm.
Yeah.
it's night and day from public versus charter versus private.
Hmm.
Well,
Three.
I know over here, like, as far as public school goes, they have this issue. I think where they're having, I think is the drivers where they're having a limited amount of bus drivers, so they're having bus drivers skip the training courses to become bus
Yeah, it's
drivers.
crazy.
Yeah, it's
Crazy.
insane, and that's what they're doing over here, and
Yeah.
that thing got people a little bit scared. You know what I mean? A
Of
little
course.
worried. Yeah. So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We just recently
You.
had a bus driver, my fault, a bus driver driving to a park. I think it was yesterday or the other day. Yeah. So I mean, you know what I mean. It's just it's worrisome, man. But as you said, brother Shannon and Ted, yeah, you paying for something. You know what I mean, and
Right.
you expect what you paying for. You know,
Right.
Mhm.
if you're spending that. So it's just it's maddening sometimes, man. The school
And we
systems,
and
man.
we have a situation like what was the just it was in the news, maybe not last year, maybe a year before last, where you had a bus driver who was literally going off the route and giving kids donuts and candy and doing all kinds of shit to them, and nobody was paying attention. Nobody paying attention that this bus driver was literally using the job that
Mm-hmm.
he had been, he was being paid to do, taking kids off the bus route every day and doing stuff to them, and then they were returning back to the route, and dropping them off, and these kids were going home. Yeah, they were full of candy, they were full
Yeah.
of pastries and all kinds of shit, and they probably have been felt up for weeks.
Yep.
They had been
Crazy.
felt up and been molested, and it was by a bus driver.
Insane.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Insane.
insane. It was insane that nobody was saying anything about this. Don't you know that this happens more times than not when you have situations where these people are unsupervised. Bus drivers, by and large, are unsupervised,
Mm-hmm.
and they're allowed to do things, and they have ways that our kids that we have no idea. What about a bus driver that has left a kid in the back of the bus, took the
Yes.
bus back to the yard, and
Yes.
parked the damn bus, and got out, and then the next thing you know, they got parent calling talking about my kid never came home. Well,
Yep.
they're like, well, what bus does he ride? We rides bus 39. They
Yep.
go check bus 39. The goddamn kids in the back of the bus sleep.
Yep. I've seen
Yeah.
it.
That means you have bus drivers don't even walk to the back of their bus to check
Nope.
to see if they got a kid's backpack, kid's pair of shoes. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, we got a kid back here.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They doing. I think what Rachel said. They doing like $1,000. I think it's $1,000 bonus or some shit like that for bus drivers here in this area to sign on.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, how you gonna expedite a bus driver just because he got a chauffeur's license and he can make it through your obstacle course? What's his mental health state like? Did you do a psych eval on him?
Of course not.
Did you do a deep background check on him? Is there any bad history, or you just care that he can drive through the obstacle course
That's
and
it.
start and stop a damn bus?
Exactly.
You
They
know,
got the
and
CDL and
it-
they're fast tracking them. That's all
that's
it is.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. They're just signing them on. And these are the guys and women that are going to end up negatively affecting our kids because we didn't vet them properly. We didn't vet them properly, and we put them in charge of our children. They're our children's first line of defense, or our children's first predators. Bus drivers see your kids just as much as you do. They see them in the morning, they see them in the afternoon, and anything that happens in between, from the time your kid leaves home to the time your kid comes back, that bus driver could be a part of. Will you ever know anything about that? Probably not. You know, I mean, you got kids now go to school, and the people that used to protect us, they call them community assistants, hall monitors and people that are in the school. A lot of these motherfuckers are predators. They preying on the kids now. They because they're not checking these kids. They're not checking out these guys and doing background checks with these. That's why you got so many young teachers having sex with the students. I'm sorry, but I don't think that a 23, 24-year old should be a high school teacher. I don't believe they have the discernment. They only 6 years older than a high school senior. So when you put a 24-year-old as a math teacher and she's teaching high school seniors, there's a whole lot of shit that can happen right there. She's
Right.
only a few years older than the people that she's teaching, and she sees a young buck come up, and hand his paper in. Then she don't have that discernment to say, "Oh, he's my pupil and I'm his educator." She was like, "Oh no, I'm looking for some dick." That's what she's looking for. Or you get these cats that see these young girls, they see these young girls' bodies is way far advanced past their years. And they don't have the self-control to say, look, that's a baby. That's
Right.
a baby. That's somebody's kid.
Right.
But because her body is screaming 23, 24, even though she's only 16, you 24 years old, you going with what her body's saying. You ain't going with what her mind's saying. And you end up doing some shit. We putting too many people like that on the front line where they shouldn't be teachers. They
That's
shouldn't be teachers out here. They shouldn't even. I mean, I believe if you a teacher and you young like that, they should make you start at the elementary school level. You should not come out of college at 23, 24 years old and be able to teach. I don't even like junior high school kids because I done seen teachers having sex with junior high school kids. Make them teach the babies first. Make them get their legs up under them as an educator so they really understand. I think also teachers that don't have children, and I'm not saying this that, everybody got to go out and have a baby before they become an educator, but I'm thinking that a teacher that does not have children or and has not been an extensive maybe mentor or some type of big brother big sister to where they've been around small, I don't believe they're good for teaching kids that are older, because they don't know what you go, they don't have that same type of spirit. There's something about when a woman has a baby, and that energy, that umbilical cord energy never leaves her. And spiritually, I believe she sees that in every child, if she's a decent person.
Yeah.
Same thing with a man. Once a man has a child, I believe a man sees the world differently, from a paternal standpoint versus just being a man. Once you actually have a child, once you've held that child, man, you children aren't the same to you no more. And we're talking all on a decent individual. I'm not talking about demented people. I'm talking about on a decent level. We don't have enough of that anymore. We don't have enough people that have been through it, and they're just getting out here and they're put on the front lines. And our kids are the prey. Our kids are the prey to these predatory individuals. I mean, it's out there.
Fact.
Info man,
Fact.
as we get ready to wrap this up, what's going on in your world?
Well, I'm out here in California. They're doing a lot of mandates around the vaccine. They really are pushing it hard
Hmm.
for, I guess, for people on jobs, and they just really are pushing this whole thing hard. I've got no really personal issues going on. Just my young one started high school, and she's
Ah,
doing well.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
she
Nice.
congratulations.
likes it. She likes it. Thank you for that. She likes it so far. Um, I'm just trying to stay. I'm just trying to keep my head up and be aware of what's happening. There's so much we're being hit with. The whole situation with the Haitians across the border. Just every time you turn around, we're living in strange times, man. I mean, every time you turn around, there's something new going on. You got some guy that they believe might have taken his girlfriend out. He's missing in woods and stuff. We got a lot of weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
We're living in strange times, and we're witnessing it all. And I'm just trying to have some normalcy. You know what I mean? We've been so far away from just being able to just like get away from the bullshit. You know what I mean? It's like every time you turn around, it's just something. And sometimes you gotta just turn it off. You gotta turn off the media, turn off the
You
reports,
do. You do.
meditate, get away from it, just take a break from it for a while and recharge yourself. And that's what I gotta do. I spend a lot of time looking at news reports, keeping up with what's going on, but some of this stuff can be very depressing. Just recently, in Stockton, a police officer killed another black man. It was a routine, it was a traffic stop, and it went really horrible. I got a chance to see the clips of that, and it was horrible.
Mm.
So sometimes you gotta take a break. You gotta deal with reality, but you gotta take a break for your own mental health. And so
Hmm.
what I'm trying to do the most for myself right now is make sure I maintain my mental health, because it's
Hmm.
just a lot of stuff that we're dealing with, that we see, that we hear, that we experience in our own. It is draining emotionally,
Right.
and you got to take care of yourself as a man. Let me say this too. Men, we got to take care of our health,
Yep.
because you're dropping out of the game, and you're leaving your families
Yep.
in a situation that they're not prepared for. Nobody's prepared for you not to be here.
Hmm.
But for black men in particular, we really got to stay on top of our health. Too many black men, prominent men that we've known, have died, um, of all kind of issues, whether it be, you had brother Williams, K. Williams, of course, he had his demons, but you got black folks dying of hypertension, blood
Right.
pressure.
Right.
They're not taking care of themselves. Come on now, we gotta really get on top of our health, and do the best for ourselves,
That's right.
and our loved ones. And I think the best thing you could do for your family, and I'm sure that you brothers have these things. You have these things. For those of you who have family, kids, life insurance, man. You got to
Yeah,
get life insurance,
you do.
and don't get that jacked up life insurance. Get the long term one,
Yeah.
because you gone tomorrow, and you want to have the security of knowing that you set your family up
Yeah.
to be able to at least move forward financially when you're no longer here. Black men, we got to get that together. That if you can't give your kids anything or your family anything, give them at least a good life insurance policy.
Yes.
Let me
Right.
let me tag on to that. You know, I am just now actually um the fact that we're about to start moving around in here. I mean, because I didn't even fuck with family too much. I was very, very careful during the heart of this pandemic. I
Mm-hmm.
was very, very careful, and our family came out of it without us catching any cases. Our family, I'm talking about on an immediate level. Now, unfortunately, hell, my granddaughter has been affected twice,
Mm.
and and because there is a behavior, a lack of discipline in dealing with that situation. And we have her as much as we can have her, but she ain't ours. She's only our grand, so we can only get her when we can get her. But if I could have kept her during the whole, what we go through, 18, 19 months of this shit, to kept her out of the paint and kept my grandson out of the paint, even though I felt like he was in a better situation, he had better access to, it's a dichotomous situation. We don't need to delve into that, but I just feel like at this point we do need insurances, but I am literally going into my second year. Just understand I did a bruh man second year. I was like second year. So I'm only in my second year of eligibility. This is crazy. Since
All right.
2012 that I am eligible for life insurance. I had a conviction on my record
Oh,
that
okay.
technically wasn't even a felony, but because the case started out as a felony, it's logged in the annals as the charge. The conviction was not a felony, it was a misdemeanor. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
pled it out to a misdemeanor, but because it went in as a felony, that's what the
Mhm.
state has the charge as. Your case number never changes. If it goes in as a felony, it starts with the F, and then you get your series of numbers. No matter
Right.
what the conviction ends up being, it's that F never leaves your shit. Just like your driver's license, my last name starts with an M. Obviously this ain't gonna happen, and y'all know this. But if I got married to somebody and they changed my name, my driver's license would still have an M on it, even though my name would no longer be an M, and I would have to marry a man for that to happen anyway, and that ain't gonna happen. So let's just get off of that. Cause I don't want to go down that road. I know it's 2021, but let's not get it twisted. Um, my name is the name that motherfucker will take. I will not take another motherfucker's name. So, um,
Right.
in real talk, black men have been held down, and most black men don't even know this. If you are a convicted felon, they will look into your shit. You cannot get life insurance. They
Mm.
can block you in underwriting if you have a felony in some states from getting life insurance. A lot of brothers don't know this. Just like if you go to prison, you cannot put a life insurance policy on that individual that's in prison. Now, if you already got coverage binded before they had their conviction, that's one thing. But you cannot bind coverage on a person. What is a motherfucker in his most treacherous state when he goes to prison? The likelihood of him dying on the street was great, but the likelihood of him dying behind bars is even greater. Why shouldn't you be able to put life insurance on an incarcerated individual? See, that's the way the system is set up. That's the way the system is set up. And black men absolutely need to get life insurance. We need to have life insurance. But a lot of us are fucked out of having life insurance because we may be lifetime felons. We may have a felony on our record that never leaves.
Mm.
That means you can never bind. You may find a high risk insurance company that will bind coverage, but you're really not getting that real insurance. You ain't never going to be able to borrow against that policy. You ain't never going to be able to alter that policy. It's just going to be a life benefit. When you die, your family gonna get enough to bury you. You ain't gonna be able to get no ridiculous policies out here like that. That's why it's really important for you to get the policies, get them intact, get situations to where, hey, if we ever come under some type of financial straits, we might be able to borrow a little bit against the policy because there are those policies out there to where you can use them as more or less like investments too. Life insurance really does take care of people after death. I know
Right.
it's called life insurance. A lot of people think like, well, it don't take care of me when I'm living. I ain't giving that shit. No, you can't think like that. Because once you take your salary, once you take your resources, once you take your effort out of the box, when you leave a big cave in your family. Hell, your family ain't even gonna move right for the next 6 months. So they need shit just to keep them tight because they're not even moving right. So if you don't do nothing but leave 10, 20 grand behind, leave that behind so they don't have to go out and do treacherous shit to keep things afloat. At least they'll be able to pay off whatever little debts you had, pay off some bills, and when they do get back out there in the paint, they're not gonna be behind. Because that's what really happens. Most funeral costs about 10 to 15,000 on a at need basis. I'm telling you what I know. Most funeral costs are 12 to 15,000 at need basis. But
Mm-hmm.
if you do pre planning, it's half the cost. If you pay for your funeral and you pay for your burial and
Mm-hmm.
and your headstone, it's 50% of the cost if you do it before you die. If you do it after you die, you pay double. I know this because I was in the cemetery game. And I've seen it happen to my mother. My mother died 59 days after my stepfather. My stepfather's shit was pre-planned. My mother's shit was not. And it was just like that. His shit was one thing, her shit was another. I'm like, I don't even remember her even talking about numbers like this. They're like, oh no, his stuff was paid for because my
Mm-hmm.
stepfather had cancer. My stepfather had cancer, so they had time to take care of it. My mother dropped dead on the spot. She wasn't thinking about no burial insurance and all that shit. He died at 51. She was only 57. So they
Brother Shannon,
weren't thinking about
I will
pre-planning.
say this much. Also, one step further,
Yes,
you gotta have
sir.
a will. You gotta have a will.
Oh man, now you wanna go into family planning and shit like that. See, people don't even
Right.
understand that, brother Ted. They don't even
Brother,
understand. You gotta have a playbook after you die. Don't
Yeah.
worry about the playbook before you die. You need a
After.
Yeah,
playbook after you die.
yeah.
right. Hey, brother Ted,
If
I
you don't have
gotta
a
get off. I gotta get off. Hate to cut into the conversation, but
I know
I
you
gotta
gotta
get
get off. We gotta get ready
I
to
gotta
shut
get
it
off though,
down.
brother. But
Right.
no, Shannon's talking real talk here. Get
He
a
is.
damn
Yeah.
will, and even better, get a living will.
Get a
That's another
living will.
one, another
Yeah.
Yeah.
area that
absolutely.
people sleep on that one too. Don't sleep on
Yep,
all of
yes,
these
sir.
things. Um,
No.
I mean, I would say go out to a financial advisor, go somewhere where they have these policies, do your research, and get
Mm-hmm.
a policy. Start
Mm-hmm.
now. I've had my stuff locked up, my policies locked up for a number of years now.
Yep.
And you know what? You know what had happened for me, Shannon? It was
What's
exactly
that?
what you said. When you have a child changes everything. The minute my child was born, that's the minute I got some get right, and I
Right.
opened up all the different policies. Not to mention, I'm also protected because of the kind of work that I get. There's another policy I have at work that allows a certain level of financial protection to my child or a spouse or anything of that nature. So I got some double things going on for me too,
And
along
make
with
sure
the
they
private stuff
do.
that I've opened up.
Right. Make sure they do align because they don't allow you to double dip on some of these insurances. So make sure they
Right.
align correctly so you can maximize all the benefits. Now, I think we
Yeah.
just opened up a can of worms. I hate using that term because it's really not a
Yeah.
can of worms. I think we just opened up a can of game to where we need to talk about this because as I work to gain what I really need, I need to have something to where it needs to be a blanket policy.
Yeah.
I need to have something where it needs to be an individual policy. I need to put that will in order. I think we need to have a cast
Can,
that
can we
talks
talk?
about. Uh-oh, did it get cut off?
No, I was just
Not
gonna
yet.
say because I got to get off, and I like what you're saying. Is there any
Yeah.
kind of way that we can even tomorrow continue this discussion about the financial
I-
responsibilities that we as men
I
need
think
to
I
take
don't
serious?
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know when we could. I'm just saying. I think this is where we set it up because we
Oh,
get into
okay.
talking about these conversations. I think we need to dedicate. I think we need to dedicate things because we get into talking about all the other stuff, the white supremacy and the racism and this, that, and
Right.
the other.
I would
But
like
this
to.
is the one thing that we talk about taking care of ourselves,
Right.
and this is how we can do this. Because you know
Can,
what? We got a lot of black people that go to churches every week, but don't none
right.
of the pastors say, "Hey, we got a couple financial planners in the congregation. I need y'all
Right.
to come up here and talk to us about what we need to do because you know what? That takes money out of your pocket, and you can't
Right.
put that money in the coffer. See, that's why a pastor don't want the financial planners and the accountants and all the family planning people to get up in front of the church because that money that you gonna pay to them and pay to the
Right.
company that's gonna help your family, that's gonna not come into his coffers. So yes, we absolutely need to talk about these things, because it's not just always just about reparations and this, that, and the other. I mean, these are just the granular things that we need to be talking about. Just some flat out basic things. When you get that job, y'all experience. Every one of you don't experience this, and I'm gonna let you go, information man, because I know you getting out of here, and I know Ted wants to get off. When you get that job, you sign your life away. You get that big packet, right? There's also some real documents that you sign when you're working with a real company. You are
Mhm.
all done did this. We all done did this.
Yeah.
We've all signed a life insurance benefit when we sign on to these companies.
Yep.
But that life insurance benefit only comes to our family if we die, if we still working for that company.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've all signed on to that, ain't we? How come we don't
Yep.
get that life insurance benefit when we walk away from that company?
Only
We
if
put it.
you are still employed by them.
There you go. There
Because
you
they
go.
would.
Hey,
I think it
Info
has a
Man,
lot to
before
do
you
with.
go,
Yeah.
Info Man, before you go, two things. No, three things. My son started high school, so I'm feeling what you're feeling.
Mhm.
Congratulations to you, brother Ted.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
started high
Congratulations,
school.
brother.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. And number two, I sent you a direct message in Twitter and and on your cell phone because I was trying to the situation, the deed has already been done with the young brother.
Yeah. I
That's-
decided. I just made the decision that
So you saw my message?
yeah, I got a chance to see the message.
Okay, got
But
it.
I'm at. But this is the problem though. I just feel like anytime somebody sort of tries to shut you off, they've already made their decision that they don't want to talk
Okay.
to you.
Okay,
You get what
Got
I'm
it.
saying?
I got you. I got
And
you wholeheartedly.
other than that, I would be willing to talk because I just think I think we should move beyond it.
Yes.
But I wasn't the one that engaged in the behavior.
No.
Because I didn't have any ill will or malice towards the individual, so I didn't understand why they did that. But they did what they did. I'm moving forward. If they want to talk, I mean, they know where we all are. Shit.
Right.
If they want to talk and they want to rectify things, hey, I'm open to it. I got no problem, no ill malice. But other than that, man, I gotta go. I gotta move forward.
Okay,
You know?
got it. And one other thing, I sent you a message, and you might have sent it to me in an email. That YouTube document that you had referenced
Mm-hmm.
in your previous video. If
Mhm.
you would be so kind to share it, I don't know
Yeah.
if it's
I have
confidential.
no. It's a file that I have on my computer,
Okay.
and there was a channel that I followed, and this particular document comes right out of the headquarters of YouTube,
Okay.
and it's basically buzzwords that the algorithms will pick up on. Like, for example, I give you a perfect example. I did a show on my channel about polite. I've been covering the whole polite situation,
Yes.
and I made the mistake
following.
using words like rape and those kind of words. But then the video didn't get monetized and any of those kind of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
The minute I stayed away from using the R word, and I could still talk about the same subject matter, YouTube monetized the video. They did what they did, meaning no penalties, no nothing. So it's understanding that there's certain words. YouTube don't like words like shoot with a gun. They don't like words where you're identifying a particular city and saying this happened in this particular city, like someone got killed. So there's certain words. Like I never use murder about a particular subject matter in my videos because murder, as you know, is a legal term. You can get sued for that. That happened to Joe Madison, actually. He got sued. You use the word kill, you can use that because murder is legal term. You can get sued by someone using that. So it's just knowing the words. So I can bring that document up. I can even try to send it to you by email if you want to look at some of the words. There's a lot of repeated words in it because it's what it's what the algorithms operate off of. So there's certain stuff that there's certain words that I will not use. And of course, if you're doing, I always use terms like allegedly. There's a lot of things that keep you out of a lot of legal problems. But it's just, I'm used to it. I'm used to YouTube, so I kind of know how to get around certain things without having myself being impacted. Like for example, I did videos about the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I did a video about the COVID, they demonetized it. They didn't like this and like that.
Right.
Now, when I do a video about this particular thing, you know what I do? I'll say the virus. I'll say the monster. I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, the herbs and spices. So what you do is a lot of people begin to pick up code language on YouTube, and they know how to talk around it so that the algorithms don't get you.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Hey,
Yeah.
there's one last item I just want to get in here is Brother Edward Lynn is on. He wants to know, sometime going forward, it could be tomorrow, it could be next week or whatever, but his specialty is In the Life Matters. So he has a memorial planning guide that he wants to share with us. So I'm putting his email on the screen, or you can just send him a message and he can share that document with you. So I just want to make sure that we did mention that.
What part of the industry is he in? The mortuary industry or
mortuary science?
Okay.
Mortuary science.
So he understands. Because I worked for one of the larger cemetery groups in our area, and this is crazy. It's so funny that they took over a group of cemeteries. One of the cemeteries was the only cemetery where Black people could be buried at one time out here. And basically, what they used to do when Black people would die, they would just throw us over the fence onto the cemetery, and then we would have to be dealt with at this place called United Memorial Gardens. It was the only cemetery that would take Black bodies and give them a decent burial at one time. So I worked it, and there's a ton of Black people. They've got a ton of Black people, and they've taken care of generations of Black people at this cemetery. And when I learned the game out there, and how important it was to have these things in order, this is our people now. They always tell you to go with your Warren market. What's your Warren market? Your family and your friends. Nobody wanted to talk about pre-planning. Nobody wanted to talk about, mortality. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now we done came across the pandemic. And I done seen a ton of people have less than mediocre homegoing services. Now I know we weren't really having traditional funerals because of the virus, but some people didn't even have what they were allowed to have because they didn't have that just set aside, that death benefit. Because that's all it is a death benefit. You're not getting any money off of the person dying. You're just not having to incur a cost when they do die. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Guess what happened when the pandemic started hitting? Uh, Shannon, you know anybody still work at the cemetery? You know anybody still do? Because they know I don't do that no more. They know where I'm at. They know where I'm in the, what I'm in the business to do. But it's the same. It's always the same thing. When I sold cars off and on for 17 years, I told every person in the world, if I don't sell you the car, at least let me see the paperwork before you do the deal. Because if I can save you some heartache, some pain, just some flat out embarrassment, let me do that. I ain't got to make the money. I'm just tired of seeing black people get taken in car dealerships.
Mm.
Right.
Nah, they get the car, want to drive the car up to the dealership I work at. Oh, okay, you got your shit. Yeah, I did, man, I did. And say I did. Then they tell me the note. I'm looking at the car. They tell me the note. I'm like, oh, something ain't working. What year did you say this car was? How many miles you
Mm-hmm.
said this car got? Let me see the paperwork. I take them inside, sit them down at my desk, break them down. I put the whole thing in my portal. I'm like, okay, so your shit fucked up, and I say shit fucked up. Everybody know I mean credit. Your shit fucked up? No, dog, I'm about a 650. I gotta, they gave me a pretty good rate. I'm like, well, I don't consider this a good rate, but you may consider it clear. I was like, you really got a 650 score? I'd be like, well, since you got your car and everything, why don't you let my people run your shit? You ain't
Mm.
got to worry about buying a car. They'd run their shit sure as shit. They'd be about a 655, right? That's a B tier. They'd
Mm-hmm.
be a B tier. But they went out at that dealership as a C rate. And it's a big difference between A rate to B rate to C rate. A
Mm-hmm.
C rate, you talking about a mid-teen interest rate. How you get an interest rate like this? Because you wasn't paying attention to the business. You was paying attention to the show. You love the way that car looked. You love the way that car signed. You love the way that car smelled. But goddamn it, you paying more money for this car than you should. And that's what I tried to tell people. It's not the deal you get, it's the deal you think you get. And that's the world we live in. People come in and be like, I want my car to be 350. Okay. Okay, sit down. Let's get a credit app. Well, why we gotta do a credit app? Because if you demanding a certain car note, I'm demanding certain credit. I ain't gonna try to fight to get you to 350 if I'm sitting here with a 419 credit score. I'm gonna tell you right now, you ain't gonna be at 350. So we ain't even gotta worry about driving no cars, looking at no cars, nothing. Let's get the real out. Well, that happens with I know we started this with Brother Edward. We need to start that talk with family planning because it's the same type of situation. How do you want to go out?
It's
And
Brother
people need to
Edward.
stop thinking people brother Edward, people need to stop thinking that being cremated is an easier way to go out because that's just as expensive as a funeral. So, just
Mm-hmm.
because they don't use a casket and they don't use all that shit, cremation is the same fucking price as a funeral. And your parents are gonna your parents, your people are gonna incur that cost just like they would if they were to get a laid you out in a funeral in the church and all that stuff.
Mm.
So yes, we definitely need to talk about financial literacy. We need to talk about, post life planning,
Yes. Yes.
family planning. We need to talk about all those things because those are not things that are talked about as a collective. Individually, we talk about them
Mm-mm.
as men and women, but we do not talk about them as a collective because nobody likes to talk about death. That's what I
Mm-mm.
was always told. Nobody wants to talk about. We ain't talking about death, motherfucker. We talking about life. We talking about life because when you die, does that mean your family has to die? Your family shouldn't have to die just because you go. And that's what happens a lot of times. Some families never recover when that matriarch or that patriarch
Mm-mm.
passes away.
Mm-mm.
Some families never recover.
And just like what was said about 30 minutes ago was the fact that a loved one passes away and their information is not in order, or their what they needed to do wasn't in order, and then next thing you know, you got not a group me, but one of these apps where people are raising funds, and I mean, and that is, I mean, ultimately probably the most disrespectful thing that's out there, when you're like, oh, you're putting that person's business on Facebook and like, oh well, they don't have enough money for the homegoing service, so you got to donate.
Yeah.
That just shows someone who did not handle their business.
Right. Right. That's what I'm saying. I was like, people don't. Everybody. Okay. If you're a $50,000-$60,000 earner, if that's what you earn per year, nobody's expecting you to leave behind a $500,000 life insurance policy.
Right.
You earn $50,000-$60,000.
Mm-hmm.
So you are a day to day, you are a week to week, you are a month to month earner.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's expecting you to leave behind a lifetime of life insurance. But when you're a $50,000 earner, so that's $4,000 a month. If you don't leave at least $12,000, that's 3 months income.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't leave at least 3 months income, you are going to kill your family.
Yeah.
I just did bruh man again. I said 3 months income and I got a 4 up. God damn. So if you don't leave at least 3 months worth of income, I think I was on $4,000, but $4,000 is a $50,000 a year earner. Here, let me give you this. Let me give you this, and because we keep saying we're gonna get up out of here.
Yeah.
A brother named what's the brother? I forgot his damn name. I had his name. Okay, so we had a brother named that played safety for the Detroit Lions a few years ago. This brother had a multi-million-dollar contract, right? Great contract. He was Gordon, got Grover Quinn. Grover Quinn was a safety for us. And I'm pretty sure I got his name right. And you can look him up. This brother had a multi-million-dollar contract, beautiful contract, right? That brother said he spends $72,000 a year. He treated life as if he made $72,000 a year. Now you got to understand, $72,000 a year. If he did that 10 months, that's only 720,000. So another 2 months, another 140. So that's over. That's that's less. That's less. That's if he did 72,000 and then he did and then that's 10 months. So that's if he did that, he made 3-4 million a year, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But he lived like he only made $6,000 a month. That's the way he lived. And that brother talked about all kind of businesses and different things that he was doing because he had the money to do it. He paid himself as if he was a CPA or a mid-level attorney, somebody like that. He paid himself that way, but he put all the rest of that money into investments and different things like that because he knows he's only going to play for 7 to 10 years max. He knows he's going to be done playing. He's going to be totally retired by the time he's early 30s, and he's got the rest of his life to live. Whereas these brothers get out here and they $72,000 a year. These brothers are spending sometimes $72,000 in a week.
Right.
They spending that in a week,
Yep.
and it doesn't make any sense because when you play for these teams, they give you a per diem. I don't know why, but they give you a per diem. You get a food per diem everywhere you go. Most of the places that you do go, oh, so and so's in the house, free meal. It's always the guy that's got the money that gets the free meal, you know. And they give the stars the free meals, the free bottles. Why? Because they know if the star is inside, you're gonna want to be inside, so they're gonna make their money off of you.
Right.
So that's that theory of being a baller. The ballers never have to pay because the ballers bring in the mopes who are gonna pay.
Yes.
Ballers never pay. Everybody want to know why the rappers go to strip clubs. Why do the rappers go to strip? Who has the most money? Here's the thing: who has the most money in a strip club? Of anybody in the strip club, who's making money?
Strippers.
The strippers.
Yeah.
But who are we constantly giving money to? The strippers.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come into a strip club and the person that's up on that stage got more money than you, I'm not saying don't give money to strippers because I've been in many gentlemen's clubs. I've worked in them. I've done business in them. The kind of businesses I've been in, I've had a reason to be in there making money. And my goal is always, when I go in a strip club, to have more than I come out with. I've always looked at that. I don't go into strip clubs for fodder. I don't go into strip clubs because I need to get off. Okay, that's not even a realm that I need to go into. But when I go into a strip club, yeah, I'm going in there to come out with more than I came up than I went in with. Most people don't have that ideology. So you got strippers making all this money. Strippers making all this money. Man, if you ever sat down and talked to a group of strippers, I done sat at a table with a group of strippers. You talking about some bitches that got some problems? They got a boatload of money between them, but they all got emotional problems. They all got family problems. They all got this, but they got money. Money don't change things. Mind state changes things. Mind state changes things. And just because you're giving them all this money, so when you get these rappers that go in these places, they want to feel big, so they're gonna make it rain. You about to give a whole bunch of money to somebody who's already got a bunch of money. But no, what you need to do is sit down and talk to her. I've literally sat at tables. I've literally sat at tables for hours with strippers, dancers, whatever you want to call them. Never bought them a drink. That's the first thing a waitress does when you sit at a gentleman's club. Stripper said, "Would you like to buy the lady a drink?" No, that's not my job to buy her a drink. My job is to sit here and basically thwart her opportunities to get lap dances and shit. That's my job. My job is not to buy her a drink. The bitch thirsty, she can get her own drink. She get free drinks. She work here. Why would I buy her a drink? That's all a sham. But if you want to look like a boss, if you want to look like a baller, yeah, I'll get her something. What you drinking? Oh, you drinking Patron? Okay, I'm gonna get her Patron. I'm gonna get her some of this. I'm gonna get her some of that. Next thing you know, she gonna be like, "All right, baby, I'll be right back." She go to the champagne room. You know about $30 worth of drinks. Now she down in the champagne room with some other cat, and you up here simping with holding glasses and shit. Holding glasses. See, it's a hustle, dude. It's a mind hustle. They do that with our lives. They give us all these distractions, and that's why we don't think about health insurance. That's why we don't think about life insurance. That's why we don't think about the after shit, because they give us all these distractions. The biggest distractions that they give us is the dollar. They make us think that we great when we make some dollars, but we don't ever talk about what we're gonna do with them dollars. We get out here and make good money and spend it all. We make fucked up money, and then we want to save it all. You ever notice that? When you make real good money, you get out here and want to ball out. When you're barely making anything, that's when you want to penny pinch. That's when you want to break out mason jars. Bless you. Break out mason jars and
Thank
start
you.
saving every goddamn thing. It's crazy. I mean, it's reverse. It's the reverse way of doing things, but that's what we were locked into, man. We were locked into. Black people. They always tell us we don't save money. Black people are the best savers on the planet. We are the best savers on the planet. We just spend unwisely. When we spend unwisely. We put money into shit that don't come back. We need to boomerang our money. We don't boomerang our money. We put it out there and it never comes back.
Brothers, we're gonna have to shut this down.
Yeah.
Yes, dog. You know what? I got on this motherfucker and I said I am not gonna get on here and talk like this. I
No,
apologize.
but you feel
I
no, you feel
apologize.
It's all
comfortable.
good, man.
It's
It's
all
all
good. You
good,
feel
man. It's a
comfortable.
lesson. It's life lessons. You know what I mean?
You feel comfortable, and that's
Yeah,
that's what matters most.
When I'm with
man.
family, man, when I'm with family, I will talk like this. When I feel like I got to keep one eye on you and one eye
Right,
on you and one eye
right,
on you, then I'll just lay back in the cut and I'll come
right.
in where y'all ask me a question. But when I'm with family, man, I just feel like I
You just
yeah.
basically just dropping gems.
Yeah,
But
man.
we're
I appreciate, man.
doing
I,
that.
I can't hold on to this. I can't hold on to anything that I've learned in life. My father's birthday was at the head of the week, and he would have been 84 years old. And the game that he gave me, just
Mm-hmm.
that I inherently got, I got to give to people. And the game that he gave me by things that I saw him do, I got to give that to somebody. I got to give that to my grandkids. I got to give it because if I can't take it with me, it ain't gonna do me no good with some dirt sprinkled on me. It ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna do me no good. So I gotta give what I gotta get, and hopefully I get the reciprocity out here to where at the end of the day, everybody understands this motherfucker tried to make me better. And I know everybody don't see that, but they
Right.
think I'm hard on them. They think but it's my
Mm.
passion because If I know you can do better, motherfucker, I'm gonna push you to do better. If you don't want to do better, okay, let me know. I won't fuck with you no more. But if I know you can do better, if I see something in you that you don't see in yourself, I'm at least gonna try to push you to be better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Definitely. Brother Shannon, I want to thank you for coming through,
Appreciate you, brother.
gracing us with your presence, and
Word.
bestowing that knowledge on us. You know,
Absolutely, man.
just being out here to share. We're gonna be on tomorrow. I think I'm gonna jump on with Smoke and
What time is that Eastern time? What time is that show? It's 6?
6 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay. So here's the thing. I may be able to get on early. I'm trying to figure out whether I'm going to go to this. It's our homecoming football game for our high
Okay.
school, and I'm just trying to figure out whether I'm going to make that or not. If I end up making it, I might just pull up and post up before the game, get parked, and get on early, and then get out by like kickoff. I
Yeah.
don't. I got a few cousins that play actually on the team, little cousins that play on the team, and I want to go out and watch them do their thing, but I don't have any other reason to just be there. So but I would love to get on and break bread with y'all before that happens. And I have a feeling that if y'all start at 6, the game starts at 7. The game will
Mm-hmm.
be off at 8. The game will be out at 8:30. Y'all probably still gonna be on there. I might be able to catch it on the back end, but I just want to break bread. I just want to break bread with cats that's gonna be on this positive shit, And I'm not, I ain't never gonna be on no me shit. But I love to be able to come in and just hear. And if you got a topic and we want to talk about it, I'll put whatever I can put on it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know everything, but what I do know, I'm willing to give up. And it don't cost nothing to give up game and hope people can implement it in their lifestyles.
Right.
Definitely.
Yes,
Much
sir.
appreciated. And we're gonna get ready to shut this down. But I want to definitely thank you for coming through, Brother
Yes,
Joe.
sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you for I was expecting, like I said, the message I wrote to you this morning, I said 10 to 15 minutes of MMA, and you provided that and then some. You far exceeded it. So I want to definitely thank you.
No
And then
problem.
you hung
man.
out. Then you
Yeah.
hung out.
Yeah,
You
man.
hung out with a bunch of OGs.
It's no problem, man. I'm always learning something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good, man. It's good when we unite and talk about certain things, man, certain topics and whatnot,
Yeah.
man.
What's your
You
demographic, brother? What's your demographic? I know you a little younger than Ted and I out here. What's your age group?
Oh, I'm 34, man. I'm gonna be 35 in
Okay, okay,
November.
okay. So we got a few calendars on you. We got a few
Yeah.
calendars on you. So yeah, that's a beautiful thing that we can actually spread that because it's a different world for us, Ted, than it is for him.
Right.
It's a totally different world. So when we can
Absolutely.
bring something to somebody like him, and he can go implement that,
Oh yeah.
in your age group, you say some of the things you hear here, people gonna look at you like, where the hell you hear that at? But you're
Yeah,
gonna
you
turn some
know.
heads. You're gonna raise some eyebrows because it ain't gonna be no goofy shit. It's gonna be something thorough that people don't really talk about. And you gonna
It's
bring a
true.
whole different game. We about to put you into a whole different realm. We'll get you talking to women. We'll get you talking to women the way we talked to women 20 years ago, and nobody will give it to do nothing around here. Nobody will be able to do nothing. I try to tell people, I try to tell these young motherfuckers, like, look, if if I was 30 years younger, y'all would have to ask me who y'all could be your girlfriend. If I was 30 years younger, you'd have to ask me. You'd have to say, Shannon, can she be my girlfriend? Because I would control all this shit. If I knew what I know now, 30 years
Yeah.
ago, shit, would nobody have a girlfriend around here. Like, look, it costs to be with her. It cost, and I wouldn't be no pimp. I ain't gonna be on no pimp shit because I would teach the ladies like, look, you don't let nobody come run up through your guts and leave you all jacked up and you didn't get nothing out the deal. Oh no, it costs.
Word.
I ain't Steve Harvey. I ain't telling you to wait 90 days. No, motherfucker. No. We ain't waiting no 90 days. You got to put some investment into this shit. Y'all see that? What Tiffany Haddish, and I'm gonna let you get out of here. You see what Tiffany Haddish said about Common?
Mm-mm.
No.
She She said she don't want no damn ring. She want an apartment building. That's real shit. What I need an apartment, what I need a ring for? I can buy my own jewelry,
Right.
but
Right.
that apartment building is the gift that keeps on giving.
It's
What she's
land.
really saying is, if me and this goofy nigga don't work out, I'm still getting paid. But if we break up and he gives me a ring, I'm straight to the pawn shop with this bitch.
Mm-hmm.
That's
You
a
see
fact.
that game, Joe? You see that game? See that game? See?
Yes. Yo, we're gonna shut
Yes,
it
sir.
down.
Yes,
We're gonna shut
sir.
it
Oh,
down.
man.
Gentlemen, be blessed. And
Y'all be good.
tomorrow, all
Yeah,
right?
man. You too.
One
You
love.
too. Y'all take care.
God bless.